Hi, folks. My name is Oran Kaufman. In the spring of 1986, I was finishing up my first year of law school, and I was neck deep in torts, contracts, and civil procedure. So when a friend of mine that was in law school with me suggested that we go to California for a bike trip, I jumped on it. I didn't exactly jump on it. You see, I had never been on a bike trip before. But Danielle had ridden cross-country twice. She had led bike trips. She knew how to fix a flat tire. She knew how to true a tire. So I thought that was pretty good, and I felt like I was in pretty good hands. My mom, on the other hand, didn't think it was a very good idea. You see, at the time, I was kind of still going out with somebody else. I say kind of because she was moving to DC, and I was living in Boston, and we were kind of on the out, but not exactly. And my mom said to me, "What do you mean you're going on a trip with another woman?" Now, my mom, unfortunately, is usually right. But we were just friends, and I was convinced that we were just friends, and so we went on the trip. So even on the plane ride, as Danielle put her head on my lap innocently to sleep, what was directly in my eyes staring at me, I was kind of suppressing because I was still kind of going out with somebody else, and it was not right. But the little percolating thing had started to happen, and if you've been in love, you know what I'm talking about. So we get to California, and we spent a couple of nights with some friends of hers, and the first day of my first bike trip was 12 miles straight uphill. And I'm like, I couldn't believe this. Like, I did not sign up for this. Give me civil procedure any day. I mean, it was like straight uphill. It was hot, and I'm huffing and I'm puffing, and I'm cursing Danielle under my breath, and at the same time thinking, I really like this woman. The saving grace was that I was staring at her butt all day. So that helped a little bit. And the other thing is, like, when you go up, you got to go down. So we get to the top, and the 6 to 8 hours, I don't remember, it was all day, of going uphill resulted in 5 minutes of straight downhill at 35 miles an hour on 2 thin tires, and the thrill of that is just incredible. And there's, like, in my head, there's like the day is ricocheting between love and going downhill and struggling and going out with somebody, and I shouldn't. Anyway, it was an incredible day, and life was kind of telescoped into that one day. We ended up spending the night under the stars, camping out in the California desert. But then the next day, things got really interesting. We got up early at about 7 o'clock in the morning and started biking. We'd biked all day, and we get to a little town on the edge of Camp Pendleton. Now, Camp Pendleton is one of the biggest Army bases in the United States, 30 miles across. This was a seedy little town with seedy little motels and seedy little bars, and Danielle was going to have nothing of it. And I had already learned by this point that one thing that I've learned over the years is your partner's always right. So she said, we're not staying here, we're going. So I said, all right, we're going. Now the problem was that in the distance were these incredibly looking black clouds, and it was looking like it was going to pour. She was determined to go ahead, so we said, okay, go ahead. We start biking, and sure enough, rain came. And sure enough, darkness came. Now, I think back on it now, and I think, what the hell were we doing biking through an Army base? I mean, I don't know how that was even allowed, but we were. And this was before, we didn't know what was on the other side of it even. So we're biking along, and once again, I'm huffing and puffing, rain is pouring down, thinking, what the hell, what is this hell ride that I agreed to do, and why am I doing this? But we kept going. And eventually, in the distance, and by the way, we thought about camping, but decided that those big signs that we saw that said tank crossings was probably not a good idea. And I'm not talking moose crossing, I'm talking tank crossing. We eventually saw a light in the distance, and we ride to the light, and by miracle, we ended up at a Cub Scout jamboree. And in this big building were hundreds of kids hopped up on sugar, running around like crazy with their little suits, with their, Cub Scout suits, I mean. But for us, the most important thing was the den mothers. They couldn't wait to mother us and bring us in, and we were like 2 wet rats. Went inside, they helped us dry off, they gave us food. We ended up spending the night with the hundreds of little Cub Scouts, watching them do their little Cub Scout skits, eating popcorn, drinking Swiss Miss chocolate, and life was good. The next morning, the sun came out, our clothes were dry, and we headed off. And I had, at this point, come to the conclusion that I couldn't ignore anymore, that I had fallen madly in love. And I don't know whether it was the bike shorts or the popcorn or anything. Love is kind of like that. Well, it's been 34 years and many bike trips. Danielle and I just celebrated our 31st anniversary. Our daughter last year biked cross country following in her mother's foot pedals. And I don't know, and I like biking now because it's life. There's uphills, there's downhills, there's windings in the road, and there's hardships, and there's, you have successes. And all I know at this point, I don't know what would have happened if we hadn't gone on that bike trip. But what I do know is that I can't wait till the next bike trip. Thank you.